everyone, and welcome to Sisters for Fi. My name is Catherine Agapjan, and here we talk about topics related to money and motherhood. Now, becoming a mother is a significant life change, and it comes with many decisions to make. One of the decisions that you might be thinking about is whether you stay home full-time to care for your kids or go back to work. Now, this decision is not easy, but there are some factors you should consider when deciding whether to go to work or stay home. And we will review those factors in this video. Now, the choice to stay home or go back to work is ultimately a personal decision given your family situation, your personal preferences, as well as what's available to you as far as resources. We also lack a lot of systematic infrastructure to support working parents. We lack paid parental leave, we lacked affordable quality childcare, and we lacked universal health care. Those factors can also influence why you may decide whether to stay home or go to work. Whatever you decide, I also encourage you to give yourself the space to change your mind. Our needs constantly change and our wants constantly change. Our children's needs also constantly change. So at this point, you probably are already leaning towards one decision or the other, and the factors I'm going to mention might validate some of that, or it might offer you some other areas to think about. So I hope this video has been helpful, and if you find it valuable, please give it a like and share it with a friend who is also going through this process. I also encourage you, if you've gone through this experience before, what advice do you want to give to other women, other new mothers about this decision? What do you want to tell them so that they can make the right choice for themselves, for their family at this current time? The first big factor that you'll want to consider is finances. Now, we all need money to live. Money not only buys us the basics, but it can provide so much security and so many opportunities down the line. When you are considering whether to stay home or go back to work, you'll likely need to consider the cost of your childcare, the impact of losing one income, and whether your partner's income is sufficient to support the family and the lifestyle that you want and need. Raising a child can be expensive. It is more so in the US because we lack paid parental leave. So many families are already starting in a deficit. We also lack affordable quality childcare, which means that most of family budgets actually goes towards childcare. And because we also lack good quality universal healthcare, not having a job with health insurance can have large ramifications if you or a member of your family gets sick. So because of this, jobs provide much needed security and much needed funds to live. Now, money struggles can happen even before the baby comes. So it's important to sit down and have an honest conversation with yourself and your partner about your family finances. What can you do today to set yourself up financially so that when kids are in the picture, you have the funds to support them? Now, one of the best pieces of advice I ever received was this: the money that you save today can buy you time tomorrow. The money that you save today can buy you time tomorrow. And that's really the most powerful thing about money, is that it can be used for so many things, but one of them is to buy us time. Now, the reality of one parent staying home is one less income. This means that if you and your partner have been living off of two incomes, eliminating one income will require a lifestyle change as well as a mindset shift and, of course, a risk assessment. Now, two incomes mean security. If one partner loses a job, the other can likely prop up the household for a certain amount of time. However, if only one parent is bringing in income, losing that one income will be detrimental to the family. So this is where the lifestyle and mindset shift has to happen. This will likely mean that your family will be setting some spending and saving priorities. You might be putting more towards your savings or your emergency fund for that just in case, you might also be shifting some funds so that you can buy term life insurance, again, in case something happens to that spouse that's earning that one income. In addition to all of this, remember too that as a parent who does not earn income outside the home, you have limited opportunities to save for retirement. Because you do not have income, you also have limited opportunities to save. And without income, you don't have the opportunity to receive Social Security credits. So it's something to keep in mind as you decide whether you stay home or go back to work. Now, keep in mind too that when you are at home, you will be in the throes of the day-to-day. So you might not be growing your skills or other networking opportunities. And you just want to be cognizant and aware of this because at some point, your kids will leave the home, you will gain some time back, and you might want to go back to the workforce or gain new experiences outside of the home. I do want to give you a money tip if you are the parent that ends up staying home. You can still save for retirement using the Spousal IRA. I have a full video on that you can learn more about, which will linked right here, so you can learn more about how you can save for your own retirement under your own name, even if you're at home not earning income. It's best to be prepared because we are all going to need money at some point in the future. Having funds in that retirement account can go a long way to providing you more options and opportunities. If you make the choice to work, remember that the share of childcare comes from the pot of both of your incomes, not just yours. So start looking at this expense and all expenses from a family holistic point of view. There's a common phrase out there that's often repeated where women say, majority of my earned income will be eaten by my childcare. While this might be a fact in a lot of scenarios, keep in mind that work can provide so many other benefits outside of a paycheck. Benefits that may grow your career later on, or benefits that allow you to access more retirement savings, and so forth. With both parents working, you will absolutely need help at home. Now, you can be super mom, you can do work outside the home, and you can do all of the work inside the home, but this will leave you exhausted. And I will tell you and forewarn you that. Now, this might require that you have a conversation with your partner about the shared labor that must happen in the home. I am actually going to discuss that a little bit later in the video, so we will cover that in a few minutes. But because both of the parents are earning income, make sure you plan your money well. Use your money to help you buy the time so that you can spend that precious time with your family. Sometimes juggling both work as well as domestic labor inside the home can be exhausting and can add up and really take up a lot of your time, leaving many parents without the capacity to actually parent their children. So keep that in mind. Use your money to buy yourself time. How can you do this? Well, this might be budgeting for a cleaning service to come into your home once a month. It might be budgeting to get takeout once a week so that at least you're not at home doing the work to feed your family. You have that buffer time for yourself and your family and using money wisely for that. Additionally, if you are a two-income household, you may have gotten accustomed to a two-income lifestyle. That's very easy to do. It's called lifestyle inflation. So it's important that you also prioritize some savings goals just in case one of you loses that income, even for a few months or a few years. As you and your partner decide what's best for your family, a budget and a multi-year spending plan can be beneficial to see what's possible. A multi-year spending plan is to help you map out your larger expenses and your savings goals so that you can make the decision whether to stay home or go back to work. Seeing where all of your expenses are going to go, seeing what your goals are, can help you assign a task for each of the dollar you earn. Now, multi-year might mean 5 years if you are thinking about going back to work once your child is in kindergarten. We'll also just add that buffer in a few more years because sometimes we do plan to go to work when our kids are in kindergarten, but then we have another kid, so that extends our time. So make that plan so that you assign a job for the money that you're earning and you have a plan for your money within the next few years. It's also important to have a plan because at some point, some of the expenses that you have for your child, you might not need to pay out. So what do you want to do with your money? Where will that go so that you know that your money is focused on something that will benefit the family? Lastly, as you figure out the financial aspect of whether to stay home or go back to work, don't automatically assume that it should be the female parent who stays home. It might be that the math works out and the benefits work out that the female partner is the one that remains in the workforce while the male partner or your other partner who has a lower income stays home instead. Before we move on to the next factor to consider, regardless of which decision is made, I do encourage you to please make sure that both parents have at least some kind of term life insurance. Now, I have a whole video on term life insurance and what you should be looking for and why you should be considering it. But think about this. If you stay home and your spouse dies, other than Social Security benefits or some kind of savings, you and your children will need money to pay for the basics. So you want to make sure you have some insurance for that just in case scenario. Now, if you do both work and rely heavily on both incomes, you are a two-income household. If one of you passes, your spouse will still need money to continue the lifestyle that you have built and grown accustomed to. If you are staying home and something happens to you, your partner will need to hire a few other people to run your household, and you will need funds for that. So consider also budgeting for term life insurance when you're looking at the financial picture of whether you stay home or go back to work. The second factor to consider are your career goals. What career goals do you have? What will be the impact if you stay home, if you go to part-time work, or if you have a child? What will that mean for you? Taking time off will absolutely impact your career trajectory. So you should think about how you are going to maintain or progress in your career while balancing motherhood. Now, many of us women have been trained and groomed to be go-getters from the start. So it can be disorienting when we are forced to let go of some of our career goals and aspirations. If you are on a career path, it's good to have a plan in place so that you can work your way into a position that might offer you some more flexibility. Now, regardless of how old your children are, your children will require your time and attention. Don't discount that you might need to stay longer at a company or a position to take advantage of the flexibility it offers, especially when both work provides you fulfillment and having children provides you fulfillment. Having both, but having flexibility can provide you so many opportunities and options. If you stay home with your kids, this time will likely be temporary. So what are your long-term goals? What do you want to do when the kids are in school? What type of work will fulfill you once your kids are out of the house? Now, if your plan is to go back to work once the kids are in school, are there licenses you need to keep up to date? Is there something else that you can do to retain, refresh, or learn a new skill as you stay home and raise kids? It may also be possible that you'll want to take a break from your career. If you have a child later on in your years, it likely means that you have been in the workforce for over a decade or maybe more, and it might be time to take a break. This can be a great opportunity to do that, but you do need to set yourself up to make sure you have funds, to also make sure that you can get back to maybe a new thing that you want to do after the kids have moved on to school. Now, for many of us, burnout is a real thing, and staying at home and managing a household while still very busy and very time consuming might be something you want to consider, as it can allow you to take some kind of break from your other work. So definitely consider your career goals as you decide whether to stay home, whether you decide to go back to work, or even go back to doing part-time work. Now, we talked about that multi-year plan. Think about what that will look like for your career as well. Are there some skills and some licenses that you need to renew every 1 or 2 years so that if and when you are ready to go back to the workforce, either full-time or even part-time, you have those skills ready too, so you're not starting from scratch. The next factor that you are going to want to consider is childcare. In the US, we lack affordable, quality childcare, which leaves many families struggling to find affordable childcare or even just quality childcare. So, I want you to make sure you do your research ahead of time and consider the available childcare options in your area. Do this early on as it may be necessary for you to put in a deposit to secure your spot even before you've made the choice whether to go back to work or stay home. It might also be possible that if you do decide to stay home, you still decide to send your child to a part-time nursery or preschool program so your child can socialize and be exposed to other things. All of this costs money, so remember to include this in your budget. I'll also note that childcare does help you go to work and focus on work, but it's not always a perfect solution. Children get sick and unfortunately cannot be sent to childcare. Now, this does require that either one of you juggles work and household or take time off from work. So you want to be budgeting for that as well, that even though you're budgeting for childcare, you also want to budget for those days when they might not be able to go to childcare and you have to take time off from work. I also want you to keep in mind that children have different needs and the standard daycare may not be the solution. So be open to other arrangements that can help both you and your child thrive. Even if a majority of your paycheck does go to childcare costs, just keep in mind that there's probably other benefits that work will provide you, aside from your health benefits, maybe retirement options, and maybe the opportunity to grow your skills and network with other people. Now, also keep in mind that childcare can be a temporary cost, so once this cost is eliminated from your budget, what's your plan in place for that? What will you do with that money? What will you do with that cost that's been a big chunk of your expenses? What are you going to do with that? So you have a plan in place for when that day comes. The fourth factor to consider is your personal preference. Now, some mothers may prefer to stay at home with their kids, while others may prefer to return to work or at least work part-time. Now, this requires that you do a deep self-reflection on what you want out of this. Consider your family background and your childhood experience. Are you trying to replicate something you didn't have? Keep in mind that you will be raising a child in a different time, place, and space, so blindly following what someone else did might not make sense for you. So really reflect on what your wants are and your needs. The second thing to reflect on is what will bring you fulfillment. Parenting is an experience and it can change as the kids grow and as you grow. Now, the early days of parenting can be easy for some, or it can be difficult for others. And sometimes you won't know what will fulfill you when you are in the day-to-day of taking care of a child. So while this decision may be a difficult decision to begin with, build in some flexibility for yourself to change your mind. If at some point you are not finding fulfillment in the first decision you made, make sure you have the space to change your mind and pivot. Understandably, many moms begin to set aside their needs once kids are in the picture. Unfortunately, doing so actually is a detriment to yourself and your family. Your kids want to see you happy doing things you love. So don't give up on those things, but you might need to plan ahead so that you can make room for everything else. Now, the preference to stay home with kids all day versus the preference to be interacting with adults will be unique to you. Some parents will thrive on being able to get creative with their kids on a day-to-day basis and enjoy many hours with them. Being a stay-at-home mom can help fulfill your personal sense of family and creativity. Being a stay-at-home mom has many benefits and can give you immense satisfaction. Sometimes you may not know how much impact you have until your children are grown, but a stay-at-home mom can focus on the children, helping them grow and develop. Without job-related stress, you may be able to provide much-needed support for your kids and be able to enjoy many precious experiences with them. Now, being a stay-at-home mom also provides you the ability to network with other parents and can help expand your social circle. Some women will crave the opportunity to solve other problems and have adults around to discuss other topics other than kids. Now, work can help fulfill your personal sense of accomplishment, so that might be something you also want to consider. Lastly, look at your kids. What kind of parent do they need today? And then, what kind of parent do they need in the next few years? Parenting can be difficult and it requires this energy exchange. If both parents work, sometimes both parents may not have the emotional, physical, or mental capacity to rear children after a long day of work. How can you create a system that allows you and your partner to parent in a way that considers your own feelings and desires as well as the needs of your kids today? The last factor to consider is your support system. It absolutely takes a village to raise a child. Unfortunately, we don't live in those villages anymore, so we have to cobble certain things to help us with not only parenting, with household work, and with other things. Now, having a supportive spouse is critical. Having family and friends is crucial, but not only can friends and family provide childcare, they can also provide you the emotional support to help you as a parent. So keep this in mind as you consider whether you should stay home or go back to work. Now, here's the truth. Your relationship with your partner will absolutely change after a child is born. You may experience scenarios where your partner, primarily the husband, may not understand or know all of the unpaid domestic labor that happens at home. Unfortunately, most of the housework will fall on you as a woman. This will be heightened after the baby is born. And this will be true whether you stay home or go back to work. And you will need help. So having that support system will be critical and crucial for your well-being. It's important to make sure your partner is meeting you halfway when it comes to all of the household responsibilities, whether you stay home or go back to work. Have this conversation early and often, and if needed, define the jobs and tasks that each parent should be responsible for. Doing so will ensure a smoother household, it will reduce resentment, and provides both parents the opportunity to learn and grow. Now, I also mentioned in the finance section that it might be necessary to use the money to outsource some of that domestic labor so that you can gain time back for your family. Now, if you are finding yourself in a space where you are taking on a lot of the unpaid domestic labor at home and feeling resentful, know that this is unfortunately normal. There are a lot of underlying assumptions in relationships due to learned behavior, societal conditioning, cultural norms, and sometimes trauma that many of us get into when we become parents. If you need help talking to your partner about dividing some of the work, I want you to check out these 2 books to help you divide up labor in your home and help you find and reclaim back space so that you can pursue your goals and interests and be a happier parent. Now, regardless of the decision you make, I'd absolutely recommend drafting up that multi-year plan. This can be a 5-year plan of how you want your life to look like, whether you stay home or work outside the home. Draft it out for yourself, draft it out with the input of your partner. What will your family budget look like? What are you prioritizing? What do you want to do with your money? What are you saving up for? This is crucial because a lot can happen in the next 5 years. A lot happens in the day-to-day, and without a plan in place, it's very easy to just roll on with the days. Having this plan in place too can also help you focus so that even if you either decide to go back to work after, you know that you have this deadline where you might want to start brushing up on skills. If you are working and you do decide that within 5 years, I want to stay home with my kids, you also have a plan in place when it comes to money, when it comes to finances. This plan is meant as a guide, but it can help you focus on the things that matter to you. Now, staying at home can provide so many benefits for children, but it does come with sacrifice. So don't discount your needs as you fulfill your children's needs. Your happiness as a mother, as a father, as a parent matter too. A lot can happen in life. As women, many of us live longer. Many of us don't earn enough, we don't save enough, and we don't have enough for retirement. So it's also important to reconsider your financial goals once kids come in the picture, once they are in school, and after. How can you set yourself up financially so that you have the funds for yourself and not be a burden to your future kids? In summary, there are many factors that you must consider when you decide to stay home, go back to work, or go to work part-time. Now, factors like finances, childcare options, career goals, your personal preference, as well as your support system all play a role in this decision. Now, this decision is ultimately a personal decision based on your family needs, values, and wants. So you need to have the conversation with your spouse and partner. Thank you so much for joining me today in this video. If you found value in this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to Sisters for Fi, where we talk about money and motherhood. I'd also encourage you to check out these two videos to help you with your finances today. I will see you next week for the next video. Bye!